Okay, so welcome back to episode number 56 of the Locker Room Podcast. We're still going strong. Today I've got a very special guest who I was delighted and it was a pleasure to work with for 4 years. When I was at London GA in 2015, I met Liam. It wasn't pre-Christmas because I think his club did quite well. So he came back in January, which is normally the case, or just before. But Liam Gavaghan, still the captain, London-born captain of London GA inter-county football team. You've had a great start so far, Liam. We won't go into London too much too soon. We'll save that for later. But thanks for coming onto the podcast. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, hi Rush. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. But yeah, no, it's been a great start to the year, and getting 3 wins under our belt was brilliant. So looking forward to the rest of the year, and yeah, looking forward to having a chat with you now.
Brilliant. Yeah, it'd be fascinating, even from a selfish point of view as an outsider now, in terms of what you guys are doing and the great work that's going on. So it's delighted to have you on. And I think the listeners will really be able to resonate with your personal situation and you know, how you manage your other parts of your life around the football. But we'll get to that in a little bit, Gavi. Just quickly, just want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Ripped, who have continued to sponsor us. Ripped is a software platform built for performance coaches and organizations. We use them here at Daily Sports Science. Very, very good online platform where you can put training programs, monitoring strategies in place, a lot of nutritional guides. Very, very good place, very good tool that you can use. To find out a bit more, please head over to www.ripped.app and use the code LOCKERROOM for your 2-month free trial, and see how you get on with the program over there. So Gavi, as I said briefly, mate, I met you in 2015 when I came into the world of Gaelic football, and I had no clue before that what the sport was, to be honest. So it was a massive eye opener, and I met you there for 4 years. I came in under the previous manager, Kieran, as we know. But tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into London? Your upbringing in a country that Gaelic isn't the top sport. Gaelic football isn't the top sport. I'd never heard of it, in all honesty. So tell me how you got into it from when you was really little, a little bit of background about your family and to current date, if that's all right.
Yeah, so yeah, no, basically my parents obviously are Irish. They moved over here with 3 kids, and then I was born over here with my sister. So yeah, growing up, it was very much in a traditional Irish household. You know, I grew up in like Greenford, which is a small part in West London, and went to a Catholic school here, which again had a small Irish community. So I was very much still involved in the Irish community growing up. And then obviously my brothers were older than me. So, you know, my dad brought them playing Gaelic football. So I used to go and watch them a lot. And then I started from a young age, and obviously I played Gaelic football, and then I played obviously soccer as well. So grew up doing both really. And yeah, like my dad's a massive GAA fan. It was always on the telly at home. And obviously we lived close to Ruislip, so it was very convenient for us to go out and watch games and watch London when I was younger. So yeah, Gaelic football has always been a big part of my life since I was young, really.
Perfect. Well, talk to me a little bit about your early career when you was growing up as a kid then. So in terms of where I'm from, we have, you know, a very strong development process and academy system. Like there's underage teams at the teams and the clubs that you play for, but what was it like at schools? How much exposure did you have to Gaelic football as a kid?
Yeah, I think even now in Gaelic football, I think development has come a long way. I think you have like, you know, development teams, you have, you know, specialized coaches going into underage, going into schools, and things like that. But when I was growing up, it was a little bit different. Like my school, Cardinal Wiseman, wasn't a massive Gaelic football stronghold. We had a PE teacher that was into Gaelic football, and she played, and obviously she done like an after school club and things like that. But yeah, in terms of like my school, it wasn't massive. But yeah, away from that, like underage, I played my underage with Chearconnor Gales, and there was always a few good underage teams around. So the competition was always big. But yeah, I think for me, my development came massively from when I was like 15, summer months, the underage stops. So like July and August, you have no like underage games because people are going on school holidays and things like that. And my brother was playing for another local club, which were intermediate at the time, St. Joseph's. And they had a great coach. So I went down training with them when I was 15, just during the summer months. And I felt like that really brought my game on, you know, actually getting exposed to like men's football for the first time. And they had a great coach, a Kerry man, Alan Bailey at the time. He was a forward as well, like myself. So he used to do a lot of one-to-one stuff with me before training, after training. So yeah, at 15 years of age, I went back to underage then in like September, playing underage games, and I felt like my game had grew and I'd gone to another level. And then from then, it kind of year after year, it kind of like spiraled really. I think 16 then, I kind of broke onto the senior team, like training with the senior team at Hurling Games, which again was another level. And Paul Coggins was manager at the time, and he kind of took me under his wing a little bit. And then he brought me on to, when he took the London job when I was 18 in 2011, he brought me there and I played with London. So I think from 15 to 18, 19, I think every year my game developed. And I think it held me in good stead really for, later on in my career.
Perfect. And what age did you start playing, like officially for a club?
Well, Hurling Games, I started training with them at 16, and yeah, like 17 then was kind of when I starting in the team really.
So that's crazy. So prior to that, you were a little bit of school, a little bit knocking around with your brothers and your dad and stuff, and a bit of soccer, like nothing too formal before that.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, underage systems, like you were training with like your under 14s. I played in London teams that went to failures over in Ireland, and I was lucky enough to go to America 3 times with London minors as well and play over in America. So I think in terms of, I think my development, I said when I was 15, going down playing with my brother's team and actually getting coached by a high level coach, was massive. And then obviously growing up, I used to go and watch my brother play, and my brother used to hang around with me afterwards and do a bit with me as well. So it was just, one of them things. And then obviously I went into a Hurling Games team at 16, 17, and they were very good. They'd just done, I think, 2 in a row. I think the year I started them, it was 3 in a row, and it was a team full of winners. And being a part of that was massive as well. Just getting that experience under your belt at such a young age, it was huge. And on the training pitch as well, like they didn't go easy on me. Which is what you need as a youngster. They really much they put me in at the deep end, and you kind of had to learn as you went. And that's how it went, and I just kind of evolved from there really.
Sure. No, it sounds like you had a fascinating development period. Anyone that knows you will know, like you're a very technical player. You're a free taker. Your ball striking's very good. What do you think got you to that level? Like, was it hours of practicing on your own? I know even when you was in the London panel, you was off doing your own stuff on days off, taking frees. How much dedication did you put to your technique over the years, and what do you think brought you to your skill level now?
I'm a big believer in repetition. A big believer in, basically what you put in is what you get out. So, I used to go off on my own a lot. Even as a youngster, when I was even at underage, when I was 15, 16, I used to get a bag of footballs and go off on my own. So, I feel like when I go off on my own, I learn a lot as well. Again, as you say, like free taking and things like that, I'll always be working on technique. If I miss, I kind of know why I miss, and things like that. So, I think it's always been a big part of me that, on the training pitch beforehand, I'm always out, working and stuff. And as I go back to it, repetition and hard work, and you always reap the benefits from it. So it's something I still stick by now, and I still do it. So.
Sure, it's great advice, and I think something you said there about why you've missed. You're very analytical. Do you tell us a little bit about how you analyze your own performance, whether in training, within games, and what process you go through?
I'm obviously quite self-critical myself. So even if I have a good game, I'd always still be doubting myself. I'd always be looking at areas where I didn't do so great. So even like, go back to a game, like one of my best games I played, probably Leach from 2017. I still go back to that game, and there was areas of that game, I think, even though it's probably the best game I played, I probably left 1-2 out there. So things like that, I'm always, looking at it, and then obviously then the games I played terrible, I'm looking at, what I did wrong, what I did right, and, sometimes go back to basic, get yourself, like I spoke to you previously years ago about getting yourself in credit. So, you're always telling me, like, if I make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes in a game. You know, it's going to happen. You're up against good defenders, so it's just basically getting yourself in credit. So you know, get your hands on the ball, make an easy pass. You know, do a couple of them, confidence builds, and then you can maybe, you know, try a bit more ambitious pass or whatever you want to do. So I always feel like trying to, you know, try and play a game for 70 minutes where I'm in credit the whole time. So I'm going to make mistakes, but always make sure that I'm always, you know, doing positive things and they outweigh the mistakes, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah, great advice. What do you think then about players that maybe don't have that same self-critical awareness? Does it frustrate you, or do you just think everyone's different in how they approach the game?
Yeah, I think everyone's different. I think yeah, it can be frustrating sometimes with, you know, with certain lads, but now I think some lads you need to let them off a leash. I think, you know, they're going to make multiple mistakes, but then they could go and bang 2 goals in and it's game over. So yeah, everybody's different. Yeah, I think the way I play and my position, I try to limit mistakes and yeah, just, you know, try and play the game how I see it. And when I think there's an opportunity to go, I will go. But yeah, but I think some lads need to be just let off a leash, especially inside men. Inside men, you know, they're different and they're basically a winning of a game. So sometimes they're going to make mistakes, but they could win the game for you at the same time.
Sure, it drives the coaches mad, but yeah, they're definitely the game winners. Liam, just quickly, you touched upon obviously your upbringing with TCG. How pivotal were they? And you spoke about Paul Coggins and someone you've worked under for a long period of time at both club and county. How pivotal were that club in getting you to where you are now? And in general, the London kind of club scene in terms of the football leagues and the championship over here?
Yeah, massive. I think even like growing up, like the chairman, like Tom Moen, he was always around like the underage setup and he was always looking out for me, which was massive. And he kind of introduced me to Paul Coggins first when I was 16. And then obviously then I worked with Paul Coggins for a few years and he brought me to London. And, you know, Paul believed in me and he put an arm around me and looked after me. So, yeah, in terms of my own personal development, like the club was huge and, you know, I owe them massively to where I am now. But yeah, in terms of like the club scene on the whole, I think one of the biggest things they did 10, 11 years ago was put a junior team made up of all English-born players. So when I was kind of coming through and before me, especially, a lot of lads were dropping away once they got to 18 because the gap between underage football in London and senior football it's massive. So you know, people weren't getting game time, weren't playing with their clubs, and then naturally, you know, they get fed up and they used to drop away. So Cheercorner Girls were, you know, the first club to kind of put an all English born team into the junior championship. So just to bridge that gap between underage and senior football. And yeah, it was brilliant. I think it's developed so many more English-born footballers. They won the junior championship, I can't remember, a few years ago now. And I think on the club scene especially, we've got more English-born players now in the club scene as opposed to when I was there, you know, when I first came there in 2008 and 9. So I think that's one of the positive factors. And there's other clubs in London that are doing the same thing now, Parnell's and St. Kiernan's, who have great underage structures. They're doing similar now. So hopefully, all in all, in another 10 years' time or so, I think we should have more English-born players operating at a high level and playing for the county team.
100%. It definitely pays off dividend for the county team. What do you think changed then in the mentality that we need to actually focus on more London-born players? Obviously, there's that stability element, but where did that moment come amongst TCG and now other clubs to really realise that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you'd have to ask the hierarchy there, but I think it was frustrating. I think, you know, the underage teams I played in at Cheercorner Girls were good. Like we had good underage teams, and then a lot of lads were falling away, which isn't right, you know. So you want to keep them playing, and that was kind of a way of keeping them playing. And then obviously, you know, going back to what we said, the transition year after year in the London County team, especially, but even in the club scene over here, you know, people come and go. So if you've got a core base of English-born players that can operate at senior level, and they're going to be here every year, then that transition is not as hard as what it would be if you had 10 Irish lads coming in year after year. So I think that's the way we went with it, and I think at Hurling Gaels now, I think we've got a good blend of English-born players and Irish-born lads that are coming, and I think it bodes well for the future.
Sure, no, good stuff. Just switching quickly before we go on to more London stuff, I want the listeners to find out a bit more about you personally. So, like, just give the listeners a bit of info around your job. You've got a very good career, a very established job, but it's very different in terms of your shifts that you do. And just speak about how that might affect your training or how it differs to when you have to travel away and stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, I do signal engineering on the underground. And I work nights. So Monday to Friday, I'm working nights, and it benefits in a way for training. So today I've had a great sleep, and I'm going training tonight, and I'll be fresh. But in terms of traveling away, things like that, I'll book the Friday night off and try and change my body clock to play the game. So that can be difficult, and it's getting a bit harder now. I'm getting a bit older as well, but I think these you can make negatives out of them if you want to, but at the end of the day, I love playing football, and while I still love playing football, then I'm happy to adapt, and I think I have to be just a bit more disciplined on myself. Everything has to be planned, in terms of my sleep, my hours. If I need to change my body clock, I need to get up a bit earlier and things like that. So I just have to plan my whole week around basically changing my body clock to be ready for a game on a Sunday. But it has its challenges. But as I said, like, I love playing football, and whilst that's still burning inside of me, then I'm happy to keep adapting.
Sure. We'll talk a little bit about that. You're changing your body clock. So what do you do then, let's say on a home game? How do you then change your body clock from a Friday night when you finish or early hours to then play on Sunday?
Yeah, home games, I try not to change too much. Because I think sleep's probably the most important thing you can have. So home game, I think, say the game's at 1 o'clock, we normally meet around 11:30. I'd be getting up at 10:30. So I try and get to sleep around 2:30 in the morning, and get my 8 hours in. So if I'd work Friday night, I then maybe only get 6 hours Saturday during the day. I'd get up, be a little bit tired then Saturday night, and then hopefully get a solid 8 hours before the game Sunday. But then on the flip reverse of that, if we got a flight flying out for an away game on a Saturday morning, I book annual leave on the Friday. But again, I'd get up earlier on the Friday morning, so I might only have 4 hours sleep, to then try and get a half decent sleep on the Friday night, and then obviously traveling over to Ireland, and then try and get a good solid 8 hours in Saturday night. So home games, I try not to adapt too much because it is tough changing the whole time. So home games, I try and just stay in my pattern, because there's nothing worse lying in bed and not sleeping. You're just tossing and turning. So I try and avoid that, and basically try and stay as close to my routine as I can.
I think it's fascinating how you adapt week on week, really, and still perform at such a good level. So testament to you. I always say about the Gaelic boy, whenever I went into the Gaelic boys, their detail, some of them, their detail and taking ownership of their own programs is phenomenal compared to the world where I come from, where you get spoon-fed information left, right, and centre. So I think testament to you. A little bit about your social sacrifice then. So you work nights anyway. You're out training 2 times a week, plus a gym session, maybe extras on days off in the evenings, then your games at weekend. I mean, it takes its toll on personal life as well, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, obviously it does, but again, it's something I enjoy. So yeah, I always know with London, I think from Christmas time until we finish up in the championship in May or whenever it will be, I know like my social life will be limited, but I just pick and choose. I pick and choose when I go. So if we have a weekend off, I might just forget about football and go out with my girlfriend for a night out and enjoy it. And and stuff. So I just pick and choose my moments. But yeah, obviously working nights and then playing football at weekends, like it seems, yeah, you know, every week rolls into one. But when you do have like a weekend off or whatever, then I try and make the most of it and forget about football and go and enjoy myself a little bit.
Brilliant, good stuff, Gavi. Just before we move on to more the current day stuff and the London stuff, just again want to say thank you to our sponsors, Ripped. Very, very appreciative of all the sponsorship they've given us and support over the years. So please head over to www.rip.app and again use the code LOCKERROOM to get your 2 months free trial. Okay, good stuff. So just moving on more to London, you spoke a little bit about how you broke on the scene, Gavi. Can you speak about when you first broke on? So what was it like in the county setup there in terms of the setup itself and the players, and what it looked like for you? Was you on the bench? Was you not playing much but training? How old were you? Stuff like that when Coggins first brought you in.
Yeah, so Coggins, he took the job in 2000, well, end of 2010, going into the 2011 season. Obviously, he invited me in. And yeah, it was brilliant. It all went well. It all, you know, I started every game in the league in 2011. Again, which was, I go back to, you know, from when I was 15 all the way up to 18, 19, every year I was, you know, going to new levels. And again, that was, you know, at the top. So I was chuffed with myself. I was playing against higher opposition, you know, tougher defenders. And obviously me at the time being 18, going on 19, you know, it was a massive eye opener of where I need to be able to compete to this level. But yeah, my league campaign, I've done well. I started every league game, and I enjoyed it. And then obviously we had Mayo in championship that year. And I got benched for that. A few boys flew over. Mark Gotcha came to town that year, so I got bombed. But no, it was good. Yes, I was on the bench against Mayo, and yeah, it was brilliant. Again, it was such a massive experience. The team we had that year, especially, was good. Again, full of leaders, and the will to win was massive. And obviously, that wasn't really common with London at the time. So yeah, we ran Mayo to extra time. I came on that game, and yeah, again, playing against Mayo, who are Division 1, you know, always top 5 team in Ireland, you know, and me kind of still just out of minor. Again, a huge experience, and yeah, one I learned a lot from. And then we went on then that year, we brought them to extra time, probably ran out a little bit of legs, didn't get over the line, and we went into the backdoor system and we beat Fermanagh, and then we lost to Waterford in the second round. So yeah, in terms of like my first year in with London, it was huge. But yeah, the commitment was massive, you know, compared to, you know, underage and then going London, going with club, then over to like into the London team. The commitment was massive, and obviously me at the time, I just come out of school and I was, you know, with you know, all my school friends didn't play Gaelic football either, so it was quite different for me in terms of I grew up in a school and all my mates played like soccer and stuff like that, and then I was playing Gaelic football. So going into a changing room, which was, you know, majority men, and you know most of them were Irish. It was quite difficult to me because I had a different, you know, I was just a kid and I grew up in London and my mates were not involved in Gaelic football at the time. So going into a change room, you know, had its challenges in that way as well. So I was probably a bit quieter and things like that. But the lads were brilliant with me at the time. I even go back to Check on the Girls, the senior team when I first broke on at 16, 17. They had 6 or 7 lads with London at the time, and they were all brilliant with me. And they had leaders. I mean, you know, you had Brian McBritty there at the time in goal, and he was brilliant with me. You know, he looked after me well, and so yeah, at the time it was brilliant, and I learned a lot from it. And obviously Coggins, Paul Coggins, from 16 to 19, he was with me all the way, and he had my arm around me, and he looked after me really.
Yeah, it's fascinating. When you said a team full of leaders, you can't be referring to Gotcha in that sense, huh?
Gotcha, he was a phenomenal player.
He was a very good player. I hope he's listening to this.
He's phenomenal, yeah.
Very good player. Gary, talk us then through so you come into the system, and how does things then change through obviously Coggins and when we came in and now Michael, how have things changed throughout the years in terms of the structures, the setups, the types of player that come in? Have things changed much, or has it been fairly consistent?
Yeah, I think it's been fairly consistent in a way. I think in terms of like English-born players, I think they all had the same idea. I think Coggins started it in terms of trying to, bring in more English-born players, and then I think Kieran brought it on to another level. And yeah, I think in training-wise, I think under Kieran especially, I think it went to a different level. I think he tapped into his soccer background, and yeah, he brought Gaelic, he brought training to a different level, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. Everything had a purpose. Everything we did, if a game didn't go right that week in training, it was, drills to, try and improve what we didn't do well in the game. So, yeah, and then now, rolling forward into Michael, it's very similar. I think, Michael done a year with Kieran there at the end, worked a lot on defensive side of things under Kieran, and again, he's brought it forward again. I think every manager has their own ideas, don't they? So Michael's come in with different ideas, and he's implemented them, and the players are bought into it, and so far it's going well.
Yeah, it's going really well. In terms of working with different managers, then you had Coggins for a long period of time, and then that managers, as you say, have their own ideas, and they bring different strengths and weaknesses to the party. How important is it that players are adaptable to different styles and really adaptable to what that manager wants, but also for the best for the team?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so as you say, I think every manager has a different style. I think every footballer nowadays, especially the way the game has gone, I think you have to be adaptable. I think in terms of positions on a football pitch now, they're not set. You're not just a wing forward, or you're not just a centre forward. The only set positions really is goalkeeper, and you might have an inside man that stays close to goal. That's your winner. But in and around that, from half forward to the full back line, everybody should be adaptable, and I think that's the way the game has gone. And I think players can't just go, oh, this is my best position, wing forward, like why am I not playing there? Because that's, Gaelic football has evolved, and there is no set positions anymore. Everyone is everywhere. So I think that's a key component for lads to to be adaptable. And as you say, every manager has his own ideas. Where the position that Kieran played me into, where Paul Coggins played me, they saw me in different positions, and that's just, again, it's something you have to adapt to, and whatever the team needs, and he feels that that's your best position for the team to win, then you go and do it. So I think nowadays, I think every player has to be adaptable in terms of their positioning.
Sure, it's a key trait that you see from the top players indeed. What do you mean by, in terms of like no set positions, everyone's everywhere? Just speak to listeners a bit about, is there certain like systems in place or styles in place that mean that you get into an effective shape, but it doesn't matter who's in what position? Explain to listeners a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think obviously, the common one is like the wing forwards going back, the wing forwards just going up and down the pitch constantly. But yeah, I think Gaelic's evolved in terms of like defensive shape. You're going to have a shape across, your defensive line, wherever that may be in your own half. And it doesn't matter who's in those positions, because in a game, everybody goes everywhere. So you could find yourself, a corner back could, run up the pitch and go into corner forward. And what do? Do I follow him or just let him go? Like you have to follow him. So then I find myself in cornerback. So then you have to adapt. Your positioning. You have to read where the ball is, your goal side, all things like that. So I think the way the game's gone now, and everyone's going everywhere, you could find yourself in a position on the pitch, and you have to be able to play there. So yeah, I think shapes are really important. Setting up your defensive line, and you could be anywhere across that line. You could be in the middle of the pitch. You could be out on the wing. You might have a late runner coming through that you have to follow, tag on and follow him. So I think everybody has to be aware now. It's not just, oh, I'm going to go and sit here in the corner and stay there. You know, you could find yourself anywhere on a pitch, and you have to be able to deal with it.
Sure, yeah, understanding everyone's roles and in defence and attack is very important. Yeah, totally agree, Gavi. What do you think? Is there differences between the London, let's say London-born players, or ones, yeah, let's say more London-born players, but the programme in general in London to the counties in Ireland? Do you think there's much difference? And it's going to be linked to the difficulties that people face getting around and being able to train and stuff like that. How much difference do you think there is between you and, let's say, another Division 4 team back in Ireland? Do you think there's much difference in the programme, the mentality of the players?
I think in terms of training, I think we all do the same training. I think everybody operating in Division 4 is training similar. I think we have to be a bit adaptable. So, for instance, you know, a collective gym session. You know, sometimes lads have to travel from the other side of London, which could take 2 to 3 hours just for a collective gym session. So, I think, you know, we're adaptable in the sense that lads do that remotely. And obviously they're accountable for it. And then we still do have a collective gym session for lads that can make it and lads who live locally. And me personally, and I remember when you were there, I still love going to the gym. Not only are you doing your strength and conditioning, but in terms of like just talking to lads, because you know, throughout the week you don't get many hours together, and when you're on the football pitch, you don't really talk a lot in depth because you're doing drills and so I kind of feel like that one night a week where you do go to the gym, obviously you get your work done, but it's a really good opportunity to talk to players, you know, get their ideas on what went wrong, what went right on Sunday, and then how we can improve it, you know, in training this week going into the next game. So it's something I really enjoy doing, going chatting to lads and you know, actually getting to know lads better at a gym session as opposed to on a football field.
Well, really interesting. I felt the same. The gym sessions gave me an opportunity just to check in with players and seeing how they were doing, and other staff as well that was around. Talk to us a little bit then as a captain, so leadership skills. So those little informal chats may be one of the strategies you put in place to galvanise people. But what sort of things have you developed over the years from a leadership perspective, and how would you impart that on your team?
Yeah, I think when Kieran made me captain, he come to me towards the end of 2016 and, you know, asked me would I be captain for 2017, and I wasn't really expecting it, to be honest. But obviously it was a huge honour and a privilege to get it, and I felt like at the time it actually brought my game to another level. Maybe just having that bit of responsibility. I felt like, you know, I had to. You know, maybe I had to, you know, train harder and you know, be the first out on the pitch and try and lead that way. I'm not really a big man for speeches, and you know, I'm not a big man in the dressing room for, you know, psyching lads up or anything like that. That's just not the way I am. But I would like to say, since I've been made captain, that I'm always, you know, one of the first out on the pitch. I'm always the last one to leave the pitch. And I'm always trying to, you know, improve my game, work on individual things in my game. And I just feel like if players are looking at me as the captain doing that, then I'm hoping it will, you know, transcend onto them and they want to do the same. So that I kind of lead in how I play, really. And that's how I like to do it. And yeah, as I said, I'm not really a big man for speech or anything. I'd speak to lads individually, and when something has to be said, I will say it. But I try and lead in the way I train and in the way I play.
Yeah, from my time, you definitely lead by example by that. So I think you're doing a great job. Is there ever a time where you feel a responsibility for the team that actually might impair you developing as an individual? Sometimes where you feel so much responsibility, you just want to focus on your job, or do you think you get the balance right?
Yeah, I think I get the balance right, to be honest. I don't, being captain is brilliant, but I don't let it, you know, bog me down, or, you know, I don't overthink it or anything like that. At the end of the day, you should have 15 captains on the pitch. I think everyone is a leader in their own way. So yeah, at the end of the day, I just focus on my football and going out there and playing to the best I can, and hopefully the lads will toe in behind me and we'll get a good performance out of it. So yeah, that's the way I lead, really.
Perfect. And just one last thing before we come on to the current regime. As a captain, how do you find the turnover of a player year on year? Is it frustrating for you? You're obviously used to it now in terms of half the squad coming in and being different, or maybe not that many. How do you deal with that as a London captain, constant turnover of players season on season?
Yeah, well, it's tough. I think, especially when you were there with Kieran and that, I think we didn't really push on as much as I think we could have because of the transition year on year. I felt like we'd get one win and then we never really backed it up. And then we're playing teams, Division 4 is a tough division. And anybody can beat anybody. And I kind of felt we never really got any momentum going. Like winning is a habit, and we never really got any momentum going in that area to go on and win games. We used to win one game and it was great, and then the week after we never really backed it up. So that was frustration. And I think looking at teams around us at the time like Leitrim and Limerick, like you look at Limerick now, they're operating in Division 3, doing really well. And a few years ago, we were competing with them, and it would be in a very tight game. So I think the transition year on year kind of stunts your progress. So I feel like the team this year, it's a new team again. And obviously, we've started off well, and we've got 3 wins under our belt, and it's great. But I'd like to hopefully keep this team together for 2-3 years and see where we can go, and that would be, the big aim for me. Hopefully over the summer months, lads won't go away and we come back next year and 80% of the lads are still there. And if that's the case, then you can build something again, bring new lads in, because lads are coming every year, and you can sprinkle 3 or 4 or 5 new lads in to improve the team without, affecting it too much. Whereas if you have a transition of 10, 11, 12 lads every year, it's just a complete new team, and obviously trying to get to know each other is hard. And having no preseason games before the league starts in January or before Christmas, we have no preseason games to get to know lads, what's their best position. So you're kind of finding out on the big stage in the first league game, second league game, and you're trying to work out what's your best team, where to put players. So I think if we can keep this team together for a couple of years and build it and see where we can go, really.
That's the key, isn't it? Keeping that core group there. Is that something you try to take as a responsibility for you? Like just towards the back end of the season, a few lads who might be thinking about leaving, just having a quiet word and maybe persuade them?
Yeah, I think you try. I think every year, you get some lads in the league campaign and they don't get many minutes. And then all of a sudden then, you have a month before championship and this lad springs out of nowhere and he's starting, So I try and remind lads of that, if you're not getting minutes in January or early February, come the end of it, you could be starting a championship in May. So you just got to stick at it. So that's what I find. I find every year I've been with London, there's always, kind of a surprise package. Somebody, bursting late onto the scene and training hard and confidence is up and he's playing well and he's starting in a championship game and maybe he didn't get many minutes in the league. So it's, it's not just a 15-man game, or it's not even a 20-man game anymore. It's your panel of 30 or 32 lads. And at the moment, the standard is high in our training sessions. So everyone is pushing for a place. Nobody's position is safe on the team. And I think that's really, it's helping training, but it's keeping lads focused as well, because, they're thinking if I have an off day here, or, if I miss training here, I won't be starting. So I think that's having a real positive effect on our play at the moment.
Sure. Well, you teed up the next question quite nicely. I mean, we've alluded to it throughout. You've had an amazing start, so congrats on the start. I've been in touch with you and a few others from London to say congrats. 3 wins out of the first 3 games, which was phenomenal, and just lost to Wexford in the last game by a couple of points, which could have got you over the line for 4 wins, which would have been all history for London in the league. Talk to me. I knew Michael quite well when he was there under Kieran as well, and it was evident he was a very good coach and he brought a lot to the table in that year. Talk to me about the program now. What are you guys doing in house, or whatever you can divulge, that's bringing you to those wins? You said about before there was one win and wouldn't back it up, but how are you managing to back things up now, especially 3 in a row?
Yeah, I think as you said, I think Michael came in for a year under Kieran and worked on defensive side of things. He was more of a defensive coach under Kieran, and he's obviously come in as manager, and he's brought his own ideas to the table. And I think he's gone back to basics really, and he's just made sure that we're solid. Make sure we're compact, we're tight, and I've been in dressing rooms with London at half time where we've been beat out the gate, and it's hard to motivate lads to keep going because we just got hammered in the first half. So I think Michael's brought it back to basics. Make sure we're defensively tight. We do a lot of work on that, and making sure we got our shape right. And we're hard to break down. And if we're hard to break down with the quality of players that we have at the moment, we'd like to transition and pick scores off. So I think that's been one of the changes. And then I think the players as well. I think as I said before, like we have 32 players out training of a high standard, and the competition is massive. And I think having lads that have bought into it like that, they all want to do well. They all want to play, and everyone's mad to play. So we just got a good togetherness at the moment, and very, very good resilience, and I think we're never beaten. We make it hard for teams to break us down, and we're always in games. And I always believe if we're in games with 10, 15 minutes to go, and that the quality that we have, we'll be able to come out on the right end of it, which has been the case in 3 out of the 4 games so far.
Yeah, sure. It's great stuff so far, I must say, from the outside. Also, you spoke about resilience. I mean, you said before about being well beat and it's hard to motivate teams, but you've come back from behind a couple of games. Like, what sort of psychological traits has the camp got now about sticking with the task and getting back in the game?
Yeah, I think the first league game actually against Carlo was massive for that. I think we were 7 points down, I think, at half time. Obviously, first league game, new team. You could easily have thought at half time, oh, here we go again, same old. But it wasn't at half time. It was, I felt like we left a lot out there. We missed a lot. We had a lot of attacking opportunities that we didn't convert. And at half time, I think lads were going around talking to each other and go, listen, like, we're still in this game, it should never be a 7-point, margin. So the belief was there, and then obviously we got our tails up in the second half. Really put them under pressure. Obviously they had a sending off, which helped. But then to come out with a victory there in the first game, I think we were 10 points down at some point in the second half, I think it was. So to come out on the side of a win, just was massive. I mean, massive for the group, massive for London in general. And I think after that, then we kind of believed that, why not go and play Waterford? And I've been in teams from 2016, and it's been the same. Talk about the frustrations. It's been the same. Like we'd win, and then we never backed up. So I think after the Carlo game, the way it turned out, where we came back from 10 points down, it was our tails were up, and we were just like, well, why not? We got Waterford at home. Let's go and attack it, and we did. But I think our game management's been really good in most games, and we've managed every game. So I think the togetherness within the group is massive, and obviously getting a few wins and gaining momentum and winning is it is a habit. It's really helped us,
Yeah, great stuff. And we must mention alongside Michael as well, and also Lorcan, who's in the panel, Joe Coulter's now come back for DSSO, and so it's good to see him back in with you guys. What's the plans then for this season? I mean, to talk outside you about promotion, and people saying, can London do it? What's the talk on the ground? Are you staying grounded? Have you got that in mind? Has it been mentioned?
No, it's same old cliche. It's like take one game at a time, isn't it? But Yeah, look, we got 3 wins, and it was brilliant. But we've just been looking at, every game. Obviously, Wexford would come out the wrong side of it, and I kind of feel like, I was very frustrated Sunday night after losing to Wexford. So I think we learned more from that game than any other game. I think when you're winning, you don't learn as much. I think when you're losing, it's plain to see what's wrong. So I think we learned a lot from that. And again, I think it's an opportunity this week to go and play Sligo again, who I'm sure have promotion hopes. Again, it'll be another tough game, and I think we're just looking for a performance. I think second half against Wexford, we didn't really do ourselves justice. So I think in the camp at the moment, we're just focusing on getting a performance against Sligo. And then, we'll let the result take care of itself. And then come Sunday night, we'll see where we're at. And we've got 2 more games after that.
Perfect. Thanks, Gabby. Just a couple more from me, mate. Then I'll let you go, get ready for your night shift. How do you see London from both a county perspective and a club perspective developing over the years? You spoke a lot about the London born and the focus that have happened at underage at club, and also the junior system at London that have now got all England team as well, all London born team. Where do you think it can go? Let's talk about the training ground, the new facility, all those sort of things. How do you think it can get to the next level?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think facilities is a massive one. I think London need to get their own training facility, an all-weather pitch, and then obviously their own gym facility and things like that. I think if we got that, it's going to a new level. At the moment, we're training on like grasshoppers, which is brilliant. It's a rugby facility. They've got great facilities there, but the dimensions of a rugby pitch is not the same as a Gaelic pitch. So working on stuff on a rugby pitch that's a lot smaller, it's a lot tighter, it's a lot compact. It is different, but obviously, you just deal with it and you get on with it. But I think for London to go to the next level, I think getting a training base that we can kind of call home, and you have an all-weather pitch there, which is floodlit, full size, and you've got your own gym there that I think the underage can use, and I think everybody there together. If the underage can come in when the seniors are training there on a Tuesday and Thursday, and they're training, I know how brilliant would it be for them to look over and go, one day I want to be there playing. So I think we need to get a training base that everybody can use from underage up to senior, and again getting these 16, 17, 18-year-olds on gym programs, strength and conditioning programs, so when they do get to 21, 22, they're physically ready to play Gaelic football. So I think for London to go to the next level, they need to try and get their own kind of centre of excellence in place where they've got all the training facilities there for everybody to use.
Sure, it'd be lovely to have a proper academy set up, won't it? Where you've got some of your junior players or your underage players maybe dipping into senior training if you need a spare man or someone who's ready for it. It'd be great to keep that development going.
Yeah, I think it's massive. I think even when I look back when I was younger, like I was lucky, like my dad is massively into football, and he used to bring me out to games, and I used to go out and watch Check on a Gale seniors when I was 13, 14, playing in senior semi-finals and senior finals. And, I kind of wanted to be there. I kind of had that belief that I wanted to be out there. And even like training underage at Check on a Gales when I was 14, the senior team were training on the pitch next year. So obviously you're looking at them and watching them. So if we can get a similar thing in London where, the underage teams can dip in and dip out and the senior team are training, and I think it only bodes well for the youngsters looking up, but hopefully one day, getting there themselves.
Sure, well, we'll look out for the next few years on the developments of that. Just the last one before we go into our quickfire round at the end, Gabby. What does the future look like for you? What do you want to achieve in your rest of your playing career? How many years do you think you got left? And be honest. And then what is life look like after playing? Do you want to go into coaching role? Is it something that interests you?
Yeah, I think in terms of playing, obviously I'm 30 now, so I've got a few more years left in me, definitely with London. Hopefully with Check on the Gales, I've got longer. I'd like to keep playing with my club until I physically can't do it anymore. So yeah, definitely I still I still have ambitions of playing football for a long time. So in terms of going into coaching, managing, I don't think it's for me right now. Obviously, that could change, but I think I give so much time to playing. You know, in terms of working nights and doing all this and the commitment. And as you say, you know, I go out on my own and work on my own things. I think I've given up so much time. I think when I do finish playing, then being a manager and a coach now, it's even more time. You know, you're on the phone constantly and you're thinking about training drills. And I think I want to maybe switch off for a bit and get away from it. But I think I'll be involved with my club, Cheer Connor Girls, in a capacity. I don't know what. I think Gaelic football is always going to be a huge part of my life. But yeah, I think management and coaching, I don't think it's for me. But then you never know. I might have a year off and get the itch for it and come back. But at the moment, it's full focus on playing, and hopefully I can play with my club until, you know, maybe late 30s if I'm lucky.
I'm sure you can. You look after yourself. In 10 years' time, when you get the London manager's job, I'll hold you to this conversation. Don't worry. Any aspirations you've got for both TCG and London? Is there any achievements you want to do in the next 5, 6, 8 years that you've got left playing?
Yeah, obviously, you know, I want to get a Connacht run with London. You know, it's something I really want to do. And then club-wise, yeah, I think for me now, like the London senior champions going to the Connacht Club Championship. I think it's a really big opportunity for, you know, the London champions to, you know, to do something in that. Before we used to go into like the All Ireland quarterfinal where we play the provincial champions, which was, again, I think it's probably a step too far. And obviously you were training whilst the provincial championships were happening, you were just training, and you were training for 3 months sometimes, just trying to stay ready for that game. And it just wasn't really, you know, it didn't really work out. So now the fact that the London champions go into Connacht, you're playing a couple of weeks after the county final. And obviously in Connacht, you have the Mayo champions, the Roscommon champions, Galway champions, always very strong, always, you know, competing for the All Ireland. So I think that, yeah, that's one big thing for me is trying to obviously win another London county title, and then have big ambitions to try and you know, win a Connacht game with the club. I think it'd be massive to the club, and it'd be massive to me. So yeah, I think it's something that I would like to achieve in the next maybe 5 years.
Fair enough. Good target to have. Thanks, Gabby. If you don't mind, we've got 5 quick fire round questions for you to just give as long or short answers as you want, but just answer them as honestly as you can. And then we'll wrap up, mate. Number 1, who has been the biggest influencers of your career so far?
I'll probably say like my dad and my brother. Obviously my dad, because he's been with me since the start, and obviously there's probably been a few moments where maybe, you know, I could have, you know, maybe stepped away or whatever, and he's always made sure that I kept on the right path. And you know, he's always been a big supporter of my career. So obviously my dad, and then obviously my brother. I think from a young age, you know, he invested interest. You know, he was playing himself, but after games he used to stay with me and work on things. So yeah, I'd probably say my dad and my brother. Yeah.
Brilliant. And number 2, best game you've played so far?
I would say Leitrim 2017.
Just lost, I think.
Yeah, lost by a goal in the end. We gave away a couple of sloppy goals, but
someone gave the ball away. Yeah, I remember the game. We was winning, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it was one that got away, I think, in the end. But yeah, in terms of like my individual performance, I think, you know, that day I was just, you know, when you feel kind of like, you know, everything was going over the bar, and you know, everything I was doing was working. So yeah, I think in terms of an overall game, I think, yeah, Leitrim 2017 would have been my best one. Yeah.
Fair play. Best game you have played in. So not necessarily what you've played, but best game you've been involved in.
Obviously Mayo 2011 as a youngster, kind of first experience of, you know, playing against Mayo. You know, the crowd is massive. Mayo have a big travelling support, and there's plenty of Mayo people in London. So I think London's game, every time they play Mayo in Connacht, it's the biggest game. So obviously playing that in 2011, coming on, and the experience was brilliant. But then I would go back to Kieran's first year, 2016, with Mayo. I played midfield that year, and I felt like I learned a lot. You know, playing against Mayo, obviously Division 1, top 5 team in Ireland, been competing for All Ireland finals, you know, every year near enough. So for me, obviously, to play midfield that year against them and compete, and you know, I felt like I did okay that day, was massive. So I learned a lot of, you know, I learned a lot in that game. So yeah, I'd say the 2 Mayo games, 2011 and 2016, for different reasons.
Brilliant. Lowering the tone a little bit. The next one. Worst moment in your career so far?
I don't know. I try not to look on negatives or dwell on things. Obviously you have massive highs in winning. I've had massive highs in winning, and then obviously then you have lows. I've lost a few county like finals, you know, last kick of the game, but then I've won a few county finals at last kick of the game. So, you know, they balance themselves out. That's just sport. You have highs, you have lows. I think during lockdown, actually, recently, I was picking up a lot of niggles, playing, and obviously it was really frustrating, obviously, not being able to play and trying to get your body right. And then when you were playing, you weren't at your best. So yeah, I'd say during the lockdown was frustrating for me. And then when London kind of got the green light this year to get back going, I kind of check on the girls. We got knocked out in semi-final in October, and I kind of said to myself, like, I'm 3 months here and before Christmas to kind of focus on myself and get the body right to get back playing. And thankfully I did. And touch wood, hopefully all the niggles have gone away. So yeah, I say during lockdown, just not being able to play maybe to your potential was frustrating for me.
Interesting. And then last one, mate. Any changes you would have made in the past?
Changes. I don't think so. I don't think I would change anything, to be honest. I don't, as I said before, I don't really dwell on things. I don't really look back on things. Obviously, during games, you look back on certain things and you think, oh, if I did this here or did that there, it could have been a different outcome. But in terms of my career, like, no, I wouldn't change anything. I'm I'm happy with what I've done. I'm proud of what I've achieved so far, and I think there's still more left in the tank. So hopefully, I've got a few more years ahead of me.
Sure, very positive and inspirational, Liam. So thank you very much. Just from us here, thanks for coming on the podcast, taking time out of your busy schedule. You've had a great start, so well done to everyone involved at London, and we wish you the best for the league campaign and the championship as well.
Yeah, brilliant. No, thanks for having me, and yeah, all the best with everything you do going forward.
Cheers, Liam. Top man.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye, mate.